How familiar are you with Spring Boot, the powerful framework that simplifies Java development? Whether you're a seasoned developer or new to the field, Spring Boot has likely crossed your path. This framework, a project of the larger Spring framework, has rapidly gained popularity for its ability to streamline Java development and deployment. One of the main draws of Spring Boot is its capability to create standalone applications, which can be run out of the box without the need for an external web server. This is complemented by its automatic configuration, which assumes default settings to reduce the amount of manual setup. In addition, Spring Boot features embedded servers, allowing you to run applications locally during development or in a cloud environment when deploying. These features together have made Spring Boot a favorite among developers for both its efficiency and its simplicity. Now that we have a basic understanding of Spring Boot, let's delve deeper into its latest features. Have you ever wondered how Spring Boot simplifies configuration? Well, the secret sauce is something called auto-configuration. This feature is what makes Spring Boot stand out from the crowd. It's like having an intelligent assistant that automatically sets up your application based on the dependencies you have added to the project. Let's dive a bit deeper. Auto-configuration is a way to automatically configure a Spring application based on its included jars. This means that if you have a Spring MVC jar in your class path, Spring Boot automatically sets up things like a dispatcher servlet for you. Now, you might be wondering how this magic happens. Auto-configuration is driven by a series of @conditional annotations. These annotations check for certain conditions, like whether a specific class is present or a certain bean has or hasn't been configured. If the conditions are met, the auto-configuration kicks in. Let's look at an example. Suppose you add Spring Data JPA starter to your project's pom.xml file. Spring Boot will notice this and automatically configure a data source and an entity manager factory for you. It's like having a backstage crew working tirelessly to ensure your performance goes smoothly. What's more, auto-configuration can be controlled. You can turn it off completely, exclude certain auto-configurations, or even write your own. It's flexible and designed to work the way you want it to. The benefits of auto-configuration are immense. It simplifies the configuration process, reduces boilerplate code, and lets you focus on what matters most: writing business logic. It's an intelligent way of bootstrapping Spring applications. But remember, the goal of auto-configuration is not to take control away from you. It's there to reduce the burden of configuration, but you always have the final say. If you want to define your own configuration, Spring Boot will back off and let you take the reins. Auto-configuration truly is a game changer, isn't it? It makes setting up your Spring applications a breeze. What if you could run your Spring application like a normal Java application? That's exactly what Spring Boot's standalone feature allows. Spring Boot is designed with simplicity in mind, and that's where its standalone application feature comes into the spotlight. The standalone application feature is all about empowering developers to run Spring applications without the need for an external servlet container. This might sound a bit technical, but let's break it down. In traditional Java development, you'd need a servlet container such as Tomcat or Jetty to act as a host for your application. This means additional setup, configuration, and let's face it, more opportunities for things to go wrong. With Spring Boot's standalone feature, however, you can bypass all of that. Spring Boot packages your application along with an embedded server, allowing it to run independently, just like a standard Java application. This means you can simply start your application from the command line, just as you would any other Java program. No need for complex server setups or configurations. Now, let's quickly walk through how to use this feature step by step. First, you'll need to set up your Spring Boot project. Once you've done that, you can include your dependencies in your build file. This is where the magic happens. Spring Boot automatically detects these dependencies and configures them for you, including the embedded server. All you need to do is run your application. This can be done either from your favorite IDE or straight from the command line using the command java jar your appname.jar. And voila! Your Spring application is up and running all by itself. The standalone application feature is a game changer in the world of Java development. It simplifies the process, reduces potential errors, and speeds up the development cycle. It's just another way Spring Boot is making life easier for developers. With this feature, running a Spring application is as easy as running a regular Java application. Do you want to monitor and manage your application in production with ease? Spring Boot Actuator makes this possible. Imagine a tool that gives you a production-grade service right out of the box, allowing you to keep an eye on your application's health, metrics, info, dump, NV, and other operations. That's exactly what Spring Boot Actuator is. It's an integral part of the Spring Boot framework, designed to expose operational information about your running application. What sets Spring Boot Actuator apart is its range of production-ready features. It provides deep insights into your application's performance and behavior. With Actuator, you can monitor traffic, database calls, and even detect potential issues before they escalate. It's like having a dedicated engineer constantly checking under the hood of your application. But how does it work? Actuator achieves this by exposing HTTP or JMX endpoints you can interact with. These endpoints allow you to monitor and interact with your application. For example, the health endpoint provides basic health information, while the metrics endpoint gives details about your application's performance. Now let's get to the fun part, using Actuator. To get started, you simply add the Spring Boot Actuator starter dependency to your project. Once added, Actuator's endpoints become available for you to use. Remember, by default, only a few endpoints are exposed over HTTP for security reasons. To expose additional endpoints, you need to modify your application properties file. Let's say you want to check your application's health. You would navigate to your application's /health endpoint. Here, you can see whether your application is up or down, and even details like disk space and database status. What about metrics? By navigating to the /metrics endpoint, you can see a comprehensive set of metrics data. This includes information about the memory used, system CPU usage, open file descriptors, and much more. Thanks to Spring Boot Actuator, monitoring and managing your application has never been easier. This feature is a testament to Spring Boot's commitment to providing tools that are not just robust and versatile, but also easy to use, empowering developers to create better applications. Now that we've explored some of the latest features of Spring Boot, it's time to recap. Spring Boot has always been a game changer in the Java development ecosystem, and its latest features only reinforce its standing. These updates serve to simplify Java development while simultaneously enhancing the power and efficiency of the framework. Firstly, let's revisit auto-configuration. It's not overstating to say that this feature has revolutionized the way we configure Spring applications. It intelligently and automatically sets up our application based on the dependencies we have added. This means less manual configuration, less code, and more time for us to focus on the core of our application. It's a prime example of Spring Boot's philosophy of making Java development easier and more efficient. Next, we discussed the standalone application feature. With this feature, Spring Boot has taken a giant leap away from traditional Java EE environments. Now, we can run our Spring applications just like regular Java applications. This eliminates the need for deploying our apps on external servers, making the development process quicker and simpler. This feature is a boon for developers who need to prototype quickly or create microservices. Moving on, we dove into the Spring Boot Actuator. This is a tool that gives us deep insights into our running application. It provides a wealth of information from health checks and metrics to audit events and HTTP tracing. This level of transparency is not only useful for debugging but also for continuous monitoring and management in production environments. The Actuator is a testament to Spring Boot's commitment to not only simplify application development, but also to make it more robust and maintainable. But these aren't the only features that make Spring Boot stand out. There are numerous others, like its embedded server support, which lets us run applications without needing a separate server. Its opinionated starter dependencies, which simplify dependency management. And its support for containerization and cloud deployment, which makes Spring Boot applications highly scalable and flexible. Each of these features brings something unique to the table, simplifying various aspects of Java development while simultaneously making the framework more powerful. These are not just incremental improvements, they are transformative changes that redefine what is possible with Java development. In the grand scheme of things, these features demonstrate Spring Boot's vision for the future of Java development. A future where developers can focus more on crafting business solutions and less on the intricacies of configuration and deployment. A future where applications are robust, scalable, and easy to maintain. With these features, Spring Boot continues to be a favorite among Java developers. Stay tuned for more updates on this impressive framework.